Okay, this video is going to take you through some very important terms that you're going to need to know for Chapter 1 and on beyond. And so this is going to be for page 3 of your notes. And so we're going to take a look at this. Now, you should have page 3 of your notes open at this time. And so as we look at this, we're going to, first of all, we're going to go through some stuff that we've already done. First of all, this, as we know, this line 1 is a class header. All right, and then we know that the class name is going to be this part here, this hello printer. So the class header always starts with public class, and then this last word is going to be the name of the class. And if you remember, we do a save as, and this hello printer will be the name of the file as well. Okay, the next thing that we see here is that we see a curly brace. These are called curly braces, and that is the opening or the beginning brace for a class. So it's the opening class brace right here. I don't know if I should put this here. It's not going to work. All right, so this is where the class begins. Now the class is going to end on its closing brace, and the closing brace is the same indentation. You just go straight down, you'll see that that's the ending brace or the closing brace for the class. We also call it a curly brace. All right, now, so that's the beginning and end of the class, and now line 3 is a very, very important line of code, and it appears that I did not make a thing for that label. So main method header. All right, so line 3 is the main method header. All right, the main method header, what that is, basically a method is a thing in Java that does a series of tasks. And so, so a method does a series of tasks. So it's like this. If I ask you to tell me what method did you use to write your paper, your research paper, what method did you follow? What steps did you take is what I'm asking. And that's what's happening here. So when you have a method in Java, it's going to take certain steps. It's going to do a series of things, of tasks. And so what makes a method, actually, when you have a parentheses, will indicate that you have a method. And the name of the method is going to be right before the parentheses. And so right here is going to be the method name. And so it's right before the parentheses. So you should be able to see in here what another method is. So what's another method in this code? Well, you see parentheses here. So println or println is the name of this method. All right, so then this main method, it does a series of tasks. Well, a method is going to have a block of code, just like the public class started with line 2 and ends at 7. Well, with the curly braces, well, the same thing's going to happen with a method. And so the main method, its first brace right after it is going to, of course, be the opening brace or the beginning curly brace for the main method. And then the closing brace is going to be in the same indentation. Just go straight down and you'll see the closing brace. So you can see how the opening braces face one way and the closing braces face another direction. Now, something else I forgot to write in here is the body of the main method is going to be between these braces. So you have this brace and this brace. So this is the body, is just really one line. The body of the main method is between these two braces. So it's just really line 5 is the body of the main method. In other words, it's only doing one task. Okay, it's going to do whatever line 5 says to do. Okay, so let's look at then what a template is. The class template is lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. So the class header, the template, class template is made up of the class header, the opening brace, its closing brace, the main method header, its opening brace, and its closing brace. Every program that we write, every class that we write, is going to have those 6 lines in it. The only difference is going to be what the name of the class is. That's the only difference. But all of them will have these lines. And in the main method, the class is going to have one or more tasks. So it could have many lines of code in here in between these braces. So it's not going to just do one task. The main method does many tasks in some programs. So that's how that works. So that's the class template in line 1. The main method we already brought up in line 3. The opening, closing curly braces, we talked about that. We talked about the body of the main method. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at, now just one more thing about the class template. I will, at some point in chapter 1, I'm going to say to you, without looking at any resources or anything, just write a program that prints your first and last name. What you'll do by memory is you'll go, okay, I know it's got to be public class, so public class and then maybe my name. And then you're going to put these other 5 lines in there, and then you're going to write a program, then you're going to write some print statements that give your first name and last name. And so you'll be able to do this by memory. You should know all of how to do this at some point. Now, a couple of other terms. I think I'm going to do this so we can. Okay, so now the other thing is, a couple of other things, is that we said that the we have a method name here, println, or println is the name of the method, and so it's got braces, or not braces, but it's got parentheses. Inside the parentheses is called an argument. So the argument is indicated by the parenthesis, the first parenthesis and the last parenthesis. All right? So in between those parentheses is an argument. Now, an argument, there's not always just one argument, especially in the println method. So you might say, you might have system dot out dot println, and then you might have hello, and then this, and then so something like this. Whoops. And so what you see in here is not only a something with quotation marks, but you also see some object that does not have quotation marks. So it's got 2 things. So there's 2 arguments in the parenthesis, in between the parentheses of a method. So that can happen as well. Okay, so in here then, Now you have something else that's very critical, and that is a string. A string, what happens to my string? Oh, that's weird. I've lost my string. All right, so I wonder how I did that. So we're going to go like this. Okay, then you have a string which is going to be, well, let me see. We said the argument was between the parentheses, and a string is between quotation marks. So in this case, the argument has, all it has in it is a string. In this argument, it's got a string and it's got something else, which we'll learn about at another time. And so a string is indicated by quotation marks. And so we say that a string is, down here, is a group of characters within quotation marks. And so the question is, well, what are characters? Characters are letters, numbers, spaces, punctuation marks, and symbols. And so in here, there you can see here that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 characters within that string. All right, so that's going to be important to realize. All right, so I'm going to pause. All right, so now we're going to continue on in your notes, and we're going to be discussing the println method and the print method and this line, and then creating horizontal space. All this will be done on JGrasp. So in JGrasp, you've got your class template, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, and then inside you have the main method printing hello world. And so we're going to take a look at the println method. And so when we run this, here's what happens. You've got oh, I should have done this. Okay, so what you have in this print statement is the println method has two parts to it, print and ln. So these are two different things actually that this method's going to do. First of all, it's going to print, as your notes say, it's going to print based on what the argument is, or the arguments in the method. And so it's going to print this string is what it's going to do. And so you can see here, it's going to print this string right here. So it does that. Well, then the ln means line. So it's going to print, or line means a new line. It's got the insertion point, what is an insertion point? Well, it's the part, if I were to go like this, I think, well, it's these things right here. This is an insertion point, and this is an insertion point. So the next output would be printing right here. And so anyways, what's going to happen is, it says, so prints hello world, and then line says it goes to the next line. So it goes to the next line, and it's waiting. So the next output would go right here. However, the program's done, so it stops, so it leaves a blank line. All right, so that's what happens. Now, we're going to do this. We're going to take this just to show you some more how this is working. We're talking about the println method, and so now we have two lines of code, and I'm going to change this to how are you? And so I'm going to compile and then run it. And so what happens now is we're going to take you through the println method again. So what happens is it says print the argument. So it's going to print hello world. And then the ln says move the insertion point to the next line down. So the insertion point goes down here and just hangs out, waits for the next output. So now we go to the next line, and the compiler goes to here, and it has two parts again. It's got print and ln. So it prints the how are you, So let's go ahead and change that back. It prints how are you. And then the ln says go to the next line down. So it goes down here. So nothing is done. Now the program's done, so it leaves a blank line. All right, that's how println and how that works. Two things, print and then go to the next line down. All right, now what we're going to do, we're just going to blow your mind here, and we are going to take this ln right here and delete it. And so we're going to we're going to compile, and then we're going to print it. So now you can actually see what it did the first time. We take the ln, now it's only on one line. Why is that? Okay, well, let's take a look at it. Line 5, it says to print hello world. So here we go. We're printing hello world. And then there's nothing in here that says go to the next line. There's no ln. So the compiler doesn't go to the next line because it's not being told to. And so the insertion point stays. All right, so it printed, and then the insertion point is just staying on that line. Then you go to the next line down to line 6, and it says print how are you. All right, so here we go. It prints how are you. And then the ln says go to the next line. So it goes to the next line. And then the program stops. And that's why you have a blank line there. That's the difference between print and println. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to blow your mind further. Because the thing is that this does not make sense. This is not good output. Because there's not a space between world and how. So we have to create. Now this is another thing on your notes that you need to know for tonight's assignment. And that is that in order to create horizontal space in the output, of course you know that you would use the space bar. But here's the key issue. It's got to be within a string. It's got to be within the string. So if you put spaces here, that's going to do you absolutely no good. And if you'll see here, it doesn't change what's printed at all. So it's still doing the exact same thing. And so that doesn't do any good. But if we go, if we go inside of a string, now here's the point. Here's what you do. You look at. You go like this. Okay, it's after I need a space between the exclamation mark and the H. So after the exclamation mark, we can put a space. Just like that. Or you can go down here before the H and put a space. Either one's going to work. And so we compile and print. And there's our little space here that's being printed because it's within quotation marks. That's how you make it work. All right, the last thing we're going to cover here is we're going to go in here and we're going to hit enter. And we're going to put the ln back. Take this space out. Okay, now we're going to what it really originally was. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a system.out.println, only we're going to have nothing in there. So what does it do? It's going to print nothing because there's nothing to print. And then it's going to go to the next line. And so we go compile and run. So in the output, what you see then is it says print nothing. So it prints nothing, and then it goes to the next line down, and then prints how are you, and then to the next line down. So that's really what's going on. This is how you print a blank line in the output, is by this line of code. There's other ways, but this is going to be the main way at the beginning. All right, hopefully this will help you with tonight's homework. And that's all we're going to do.